God and I didn't exactly have the best relationship, especially when I grew up in an environment where I saw God as this big scary guy who used to tell me off all the time whenever I was, a bad kid or I did bad things. So not only did I view God as someone who was judgmental, but I also, when I went to church, I also felt quite judged. And what happens when you feel the world judging you? You are inadvertently taught that, you become your biggest critic, pretty much. You don't think that you can do anything right, that you'll never be good enough, and you'll never meet those high standards that, you've set. So I gave up. I actually did more than give up. I actually pursued a life away from God. I was so sick of feeling guilty all the time that I'd repeatedly go out and drink and sleep around until I no longer felt guilty because I no longer felt anything. My soul was empty. I lost all my self-worth. I hated myself. I had no love towards me or who I was as a person. But God loved me. He was always there in the back of my mind, in the little box that I tried to put him in, deep down in my heart, a box that I locked and I threw away the key. I can't pinpoint a moment in my life where it started to change, but it did. It definitely did. I started making better decisions and life actually started getting really great, but I still didn't love myself. Then one day I got a text from Shafe and he was asking how I was and invited me to one of these dinner party things. And I remember making it really clear to God that I didn't want to come back to him, but I was just going to go check out this dinner party because, why? Pretty much because when I was down in Albany, whenever I was with Shafen and Jess, they made me feel like I belong. I really belong there. They created this safe space for me without judgment. So I felt really safe with them, and I really wanted to feel that again. So I went to the dinner party, and I went the next week, and again the week after. And next thing I know, I was signing myself up to help out anywhere I could, which is another thing I told God that I didn't want to do. I even remember I asked Shafe and Jess to catch up one time, and I remember I went over and I told them that they better let me help start up a youth group. And I remember driving home that night, and I just had this moment where I was like, whoa, God, hold up, what happened? I told you I didn't want to come back to you. What have you done to me? Look at me. I was so mad. But there's a lot of humor in my relationship with God now. Anyway, so the next dinner party that I went to, Shafe asked if he could pray for me, and I said yes. And I recommitted my life to God that night. Mom. Through endless tears, and I was baptized shortly after. I'm still not perfect, and I never will be, but I know that God loves me no matter what I do or say or think. And I figured if he loves me, I guess I can love myself. So go out there, be open to God, gently nudging you in the right direction. Let him show you or reveal to you your passions, like he has with me and youth. Be open, be vulnerable. So there's one last thing I want to share. Actually, at the last dinner party that I went to, I felt God speaking to me about vulnerability. So I asked a question because God's been speaking to me about vulnerability for the last few months, and I can't count the amount of times that Brené Brown has come up. But so I asked the question. I asked, if we need vulnerability in our relationships with each other, does that not mean that we need to be vulnerable in our relationship with God?
Yeah, that's right.
And I remember Ben said, to be vulnerable is to be emotionally honest. And at that moment, I felt loved.
So good.
That was my moment. I finally allowed myself to be vulnerable with God. I finally allowed myself to love myself.
Awesome.
So I encourage you that God loves you and he's already forgiven you and he's got a purpose for you. So get in there, get connected. Find a dinner party close to you. There's plenty. And it'll change your life like it's completely changed mine. Thanks.
Awesome.